That's right. Yeah, we actually know very little about human reproduction or child development in environments beyond Earth. So, yeah, I mean, the specific conditions on Mars include that it has lower gravity, about one third the gravity of Earth, or three eighths to be more precise. And so we don't actually know what being in a one third gravity environment does to a developing fetus, what it would do to a developing child. And so it's entirely possible that a child wouldn't grow and develop in a normal way and become a healthy adult in that partial gravity environment. We know that adults that are in a low gravity environment lose muscle strength and they lose bone density. And so, it seems like a reasonable assumption that something similar would happen to children, but it could actually be worse because as you're first building that bone, right, bone responds to muscle, and if muscle's not having to work as hard against gravity, then you just might not build that strong skeleton. So that's part of it. There's other issues. Radiation is another major challenge of being on Mars. Mars doesn't have the magnetic field that Earth has that is part of what protects us from deep space radiation. Another thing is the thin atmosphere. Our atmosphere is protecting us from some of the radiation of space. And so radiation is hitting the surface of Mars at nearly full strength. There's ways that you can try to shield people from radiation, and we would have to do that just to be able to survive at all on Mars. So the question is, how much radiation exposure are people experiencing there, and particularly young children. And then the last thing I would point out, which I think this is something that people haven't maybe thought about as much as they should, is basically what happens to our immune systems, right? So our immune system when we're born, it basically develops in response to what we interact with, what kinds of viruses, bacteria, other microorganisms we engage with. And, there's an incredible richness of microbiology on our planet. Most of it isn't dangerous to us, but in part that's because our immune system is able to basically fight off anything that would be potentially a threat. None of that exists on Mars. As far as we know, there's nothing currently alive on Mars. We'll bring some stuff with us, right? Whatever microbes are in and on our bodies and on anything else that we bring along. But it's going to be very little compared to what's here on Earth. So a child who's born and raised on Mars is never going to develop an immune system that would be able to handle most of what we have here on Earth. So I have real concerns about whether a person that is raised that way would ever be able to come back to Earth. I think it would just be very, very dangerous because of the infectious disease risk.
Mm-hmm.